sends a mass overdose sent dozens of people to the hospital in Baltimore City. And then just days later, it happened again in the same neighborhood.
How many overdoses is it going to happen for somebody to do something?
It's now up to city leaders to figure out how to fight the opioid crisis.
Should it have taken that many people to overdose for that to rise to the level of significance, for almost feel like City Hall paid attention?
Mackenzie, you know my answer here. You know, we should have been working on this years ago.
I'm going in depth on Baltimore's drug problem and what needs to be done to help communities in need. Thank you for joining us for this week's edition of Fox 45 News in Depth. I'm Mackenzie Frost. Thursday marks 2 weeks from the first mass overdose in the Penn North neighborhood, one of two. Now, City Council is holding hearings to address Baltimore's drug problem. Those hearings were previously scheduled before overdoses happened, but the goal is to determine how the city should spend the $400 million it received from settlements with pharmaceutical companies surrounding their role in the opioid epidemic. In addition to those hearings, the mayor's office is holding listening sessions to get input from the community on how to also tackle the drug problem. Meanwhile, Fox 45 News is hearing from residents who say open-air drug markets have been a problem in Baltimore for decades. And what the city is doing now is too little, too late. The Penn North corridor in Baltimore City is often bustling, filled with transit lines, traffic. But on July 10th,
Ambulance 24 respond medical on 13-80 Pennsylvania Avenue at West North Avenue for the man down on the bus stop.
it was tragedy.
It took the police a long time to help them people.
Medical on 13-82 1515 West North Avenue for the overdose.
15 people.
Battalion Chief 6 on mass casualty event.
Then 3 more.
Truck 6 Woodbrook Avenue and Pennsylvania Avenue for the overdose.
Then 4 more.
Emergency crews flooded the area.
Test strips.
Give them that Narcan.
And Narcan or a test strip. There's something that's bad in the supply right now, so please be careful.
Save lives.
Thank you, thank you.
More than 25 people rushed to the hospital in what was described as a mass casualty event. Many people clung to life as a criminal investigation got underway. But a week later,
5 possible ODs here. It might be a bad batch. So we got about 5 people completely unresponsive.
another overdose event. This time, 5 people taken to the hospital. Less than 14 days after more than 30 people overdosed, Narcan, seen on the corners of Penn North, the brand name for naloxone, the emergency medication that can be used to reverse the effects of an opioid overdose.
I got a phone call 10 o'clock that morning, you know.
Harry Fitzgerald says he doesn't know anyone who overdosed in the most recent events, but he is familiar with the struggle of addiction.
I'm not gonna lie, I do use and I have used, but I've gotten better. I've dealt with the streets basically all my life, you know, and thank God that it hasn't taken my life. And one thing that I never did was chase t-shirts. You know what a t-shirt is?
What does that mean? Forgive me.
A T. When people giving out free dope so you'll come buy their dope.
Fitzgerald said that's the word going around that resulted in the sudden mass overdoses.
Really, you're not gonna get nothing worth nothing for free. Come on. You're really taking a chance with your life. You don't know a damn thing about. All you know is I'm gonna get a free high. Hopefully. The worst thing? Death. That's the worst thing.
$3,500 block of Oakmont for narcotics. $3,500 block of Oakmont for narcotics.
Fitzgerald has called Baltimore City home for nearly 70 years.
Baltimore is crazy. I've seen it go through it.
This area looked much different decades ago. The Met Theater once screened blockbusters. Now it's largely empty blocks out front.
How would you describe Penn North?
This area here now, I know my parents and relatives would be totally upset because of all the history that's in Baltimore City, for one, and then the way that the drugs have just taken over everybody's mind. I don't know what to say about it. It's just up.
Yeah.
Beat me.
How common is it to see people getting high in this area?
Very common. Very common.
Drug activity at the location in reference to a drug sale.
From July 2024 through June 2025, there were 73 overdose deaths in this zip code alone, the second highest in Baltimore City. The nearby Park Heights area had the most in the entire state of Maryland. 81 people died from overdoses. Citywide, 586 people died from overdoses from last July to June of this year. 525 of those people died from opioid-related overdoses. Baltimore City is tracking the data too. In 2024, there was some progress with 776 overdose deaths in the 12-month span. In that same time frame, emergency medical services administered naloxone 1,800 times, down from the 5-year high of 3,335 in 2021.
Non-fatal overdose, 2451, Edison.
It will take time and resources to repair the damage done to our communities.
During the State of the City address this year, Mayor Brandon Scott talked about how Baltimore took opioid companies to court.
Big Pharma didn't give it up, we took it.
And ended up with more than $400 million in an opioid restitution fund. In July, the mayor rolled out the city's overdose response strategic plan, noting there's no simple solution to the overdose crisis, but he set a goal of cutting overdose deaths by 40% in 15 years.
Just selling drugs from a Ford.
But for some people,
So it's like the mayor's not doing nothing.
the actions from City Hall are not enough.
He only do stuff when stuff is tragically happening.
Marisha Gupton has lived in Baltimore her entire life.
How many overdoses is it going to happen for somebody to do something?
Addiction isn't just something she sees when she's walking on the street. She sees it in her own family and is struggling with her own problems after getting shot in the city.
So what's my next step? Should I get high? I can't. I can't and I won't, because I have a mother that was an addict, a father that died from being an addict. I can't do it. I try to go around and try to help and talk to people, but who am I? It can happen to me, it can happen to you, it can happen to anybody.
She's not alone in her frustration with leadership in the city.
These are humans. They're human like you and I. They get high, that don't mean they're not human. They are somebody's father, uncle, brother, and they matter. Come out here, put your ear to the street as a mayor, like you supposed to, and find out what's going on. It's going to keep going on. It's not going to stop.
Shamir Holland says Baltimore police should be more proactive in stopping drug dealing in this area too, something she says happens in plain sight.
You see, if they don't see it, then somebody's Stevie Wonder, and I'm not.
Call for narcotics, 718 West 36.
But breaking the grip of addiction isn't easy.
There's something about heroin, you know, that I guess it just makes my problems go away, you know. And I'm seeing a lot of younger, I guess because I done got older, but they look way younger now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Times have really changed.
Yeah.
You know, brought a tear to my eye.
Peace. And another overdose came off in Northern Fulton. For anyone able to break free, Northern Fulton for an overdose.
At 66 years old, Fitzgerald says he has seen a lot of change in Baltimore over the years, including within himself.
I'm what you would call a functional addict, but I'm not totally gone. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I have been, but I don't do the things I used to do anymore.
He just hasn't been able to shake the habit completely. Is there anything that the city government or leaders could do to help you reach that point where you would wake up one day and say, okay, I'm ready. I want to stop?
Now, I'm one that watches the news every morning. I think that money should be put towards getting these people into recovery.
Like you.
Myself included. I mean, I can get into it myself, but that money should be used towards recovery. Don't just talk about it. Be about it, Brandon. Be about it, man. We know you came from Park Heights and went to Maryville and all this, that, the other. Man, do the right thing with that money. Please.
And a overdose, 4000 Glenarm Avenue.
So then maybe
They did come and get the guys behind CVS, so we're all good there.
the overdose calls in Penn North
If I could just have another medic at 1300 block of West North. This gentleman is alert, though.
or elsewhere in the city
2140 North Fulton Avenue, respect the Brown's Funeral Home parking lot for the overdose not alert.
don't come so often. This isn't a new issue for the Penn North neighborhood. In 2021, Fox 45 News obtained video showing drug deals in the middle of the day. You can see people lining up by the dozen in a vacant lot along Druid Hill Avenue. At the time, we spoke with residents who told us open-air drug markets had been a problem for decades.
It's very sad to say what's really going on is to clean up this neighborhood, get rid of the drugs.
In March of 2021, authorities announced federal drug charges were filed against 29 alleged drug dealers who had been operating in Penn North alone. Let's take a closer look at the neighborhood. According to census data from 2020, the population in Penn North is a little more than 1,500 people. The majority of residents' highest education level is a high school diploma or an associate's degree, and the majority of residents rent rather than own their homes. According to Baltimore police data, Penn North has seen 23 aggravated assaults so far this year. That includes 3 non-fatal shootings. It has seen 152 robberies. It is one of about 16 communities in the Western District and makes up 7% of the Western District's assaults and 13% of its robberies. Penn North isn't the only community with open-air drug markets. Fox 45 News has reported on illegal drug activity and its impacts on residents across the city for years. Back in 2021, our cameras caught what appeared to be a drug deal near Edmondson Village Shopping Center as a police helicopter circled overhead. In 2022, a West Baltimore resident told Fox 45 there was an open-air drug market where she lived on North Abington Avenue. Fox 45 News discovered police had been called to that same block 30 times in just 6 months. In 2023, neighbors told us Upton there were drugs behind much of the violence in the area following a triple shooting that turned into a double homicide. Former City Councilman Eric Costello called it one of the largest open-air drug markets in the state. And just last year, we heard from residents in Northwest Baltimore who told us there was an open-air drug market in their neighborhood. We sent our cameras to the suspected drug market and saw a suspected dealer exchange a baggied substance for money. Joining me now is retired DEA Special Agent Ted Golden. Ted, thank you so much for joining us.
Sure.
When it comes to open-air drug markets, people we've heard from are often frustrated with the police, saying officers know about these drug markets but don't seem to do anything about them. What does enforcement of open-air drug markets really look like?
You know, back in the 80s when the crack epidemic hit the country, we were actively engaged in going to geographical areas where we knew that crack cocaine was being sold. I personally bought crack cocaine off the streets of Oakland and San Francisco. We're now in the third generation of what used to be crack babies, and now these young people are looking for that good high. And unfortunately, it doesn't come for free. And that's what this is all about. Let's not get lost in the fact that people are using drugs. It's a money-making scheme. And the more folks you can get addicted, the more they're going to come to you. When you got that good stuff, they're going to come even more so. And when people are dropping dead or overdosing, they're coming tenfold now because they know they're going to get that good high when they show up. And that's the part that we've got to become more conscientious about, because drug addiction is not going anywhere. It's been here for centuries. It's going to be here when we're all dead and gone. And like I tell people all the time, if eating pickled pig's ears got people high, we'd have a lot of earless pigs, because folks are looking for a way to get that high they got before, because, you know, once you get hit, you hit. And here's the thing people got to realize. We got to really think about this. The easiest way to kick the drug habit is to never start.
That's very true. If police and other law enforcement know that there is a hot spot in a neighborhood where there is a lot of drug activity and neighbors tell everybody that there are dealers there, what can law enforcement do to try and drive that activity out of there or stop that from happening at all?
Well, I'm in Atlanta, and there's this area right across from Mercedes-Benz Stadium called The Bluff. The Bluff has been actively engaged in selling heroin for 40 years, and it's not going to change. I don't care who moves in the neighborhood. Essentially, we've got a lot of good technology nowadays that we can utilize to confirm things and to target people. And I hate to say this, I'm just being honest with you, law enforcement is at a loss right now. We don't have enough people. We don't have enough folk. You know, when you look at these negative images that you see on social media about cops mistreating people, it drives people away from law enforcement as a career. And that's not going to help us, because who's the first person you're going to call? You're going to call the police. And they can't get there if they don't have enough manpower to service you. I mean, I live in an area where some folks don't get the cops because we only have 4 cops sometimes patrolling 50,000 people. And it's just messed up right now. So let's be quite honest about this. Citizens have to stand up and call for it. But let's also understand this. Batman, Superman, Black Panther is not coming. It's us. So we got to start doing things differently and working in ways that gets folks diverted from using drugs. And I'll be real quick with this. We have to call everybody to the table. This is a full court press. And the only way it's going to work is if we use all the resources we got. One of the biggest resources we have that we're not using is teenagers. Teenagers who have free time. Teenagers who are sitting in school right now because they don't have jobs, and they're sitting there for half a day longer than they should. We can train them on how to deliver education and also at the same time use them for intervention and education for these young people, because there's not enough grown folks to stop this. Yeah. We can't do it by ourselves.
Peer-to-peer messaging for sure. Ted Golden, I appreciate your insight. Thank you so much. Hopefully we can continue this conversation another time.
Anytime. Thank you.
Still to come, city leaders are working to combat the opioid crisis and help those struggling with addiction. Councilman Mark Conway weighs in on the changes he wants to see to prevent more overdose events. Many are hoping the more than $400 million the city received in settlements from pharmaceutical companies regarding their role in the opioid crisis will help get Baltimore's drug problem under control. City Council is holding hearings to decide where exactly that money should go following 2 previous delays. Advocates say they want to see more resources in hotspots like Penn North. The city is also holding public listening sessions for residents to weigh in on where they would like to see the money spent. Fox 45 News caught up with Mayor Brandon Scott at one of those sessions to ask him about how the city is planning to address the opioid crisis.
We've never had the resources to deal with this problem at scale. Everybody from our health department to all these recovery programs that have been here working in this community and others for a long time know what they're doing. They haven't had the investment.
City Council member Mark Conway has clashed with the mayor about how to address the opioid crisis in the past. I sat down with him to talk about what he thinks needs to be done now. With more than $400 million sitting in the bank, Baltimore City is facing a moment of opportunity to make an investment that could change lives touched by addiction.
How important is it to get this right and to make sure that people have access to the resources that they need to ensure that they find themselves on the right path?
So our city has been dealing with, dare I call it, this pain and this disease of opioid addiction for a very long time. We've got to ask those questions. We need to understand the things that led to where we are today in order to fix those issues. What's more is I think one of the things we often do here in government is we make the mistake of assuming that we have all the answers.
The Opioid Restitution Fund sits in a trust, accruing interest, and will be distributed over 15 years. Some of the money is already spoken for. $17 million allocated to city government. Right now, 22 organizations have been named as Restitution Fund recipients, including Turnaround Tuesday, Helping Up Mission, and Maryland Coalition of Families. But keeping tabs on the money.
A lot of people in the city say that once it's out the door, it's difficult to track. How do you make sure that that doesn't happen?
That just shouldn't be the case. So I think we should be trying to make sure as best as possible that, especially for the larger organizations, we make sure that they keep up to date on their financials, that they're following their own rules that they set, and that there are good stewards of government money. I think for the smaller organizations, there's always been support organizations out there that help as fiscal sponsors to help them manage the paperwork and otherwise. That can be really, really important. And keeping that accountability, keeping that fiscal stewardship.
Councilman Mark Conway says spending the money responsibly is more important than spending it quickly.
What does it take for us to get to some sort of stable level? You know, we may not completely eliminate addiction across the city, but we can certainly get it to a point where we have manageable resources to, you know, break down some of our open air drug markets and not have some of the problems that we see today.
What's that timetable look like?
We've already been implementing some of the policies that would help in that regard, but I think in order to really change the addiction and the impact that the addiction has on families, we have to up our game a little bit. How long that will take, I don't know, but I would hope that we could be as aggressive as possible. I think every day that someone overdoses or we see an overdose death, it's a tragedy for our city.
Conway has floated ideas in City Hall before to address some of these problems. He wants all city buildings to carry Narcan, and he introduced another idea
that would have required our paramedics to carry buprenorphine.
I remember this.
And offer buprenorphine after someone has overdosed.
It's a drug, he says, that can offer people with an opioid addiction a moment to pause and manage withdrawal symptoms.
When you give someone buprenorphine, they really can't use opiates for about 24 hours. It blocks the receptors and makes it very difficult for someone to get high on another substance that has fentanyl or opium. And I understand we hopefully will get a hearing soon.
Right now, the attention remains on the latest overdoses in Penn North for City Hall.
It's my understanding now that the cabinet is operating out of Penn North, which I think is an admirable thing for the mayor to do. It does speak to the level of importance of what is happening right now and what we're seeing in the streets. I'll say it's painful to walk around and see people in that condition, but accepting it for what it is unacceptable.
This week we asked what you think Baltimore City needs to do to get its drug problem under control. We'll take a look at some of your responses right after the break.
Here's tonight's primetime lineup on Fox 45. Brought to you locally by your McDonald's owner-operators.
This week we asked, what do you think Baltimore City needs to do to get its drug problem under control? Let's take a look at some of our responses. Keith says it's a tough ask. For some, it's socially acceptable, so you'd have to change their way of thinking. For others, it's self-medicating, so you'd have to solve whatever dilemmas they are trying to escape. And Scott says more Al Capone-style policing. That's it for this week's edition of Fox 45 News In Depth. I'm Mackenzie Frost.